Okay. Hello, everybody.
12 o'clock.
Uh-oh, it's 12 o'clock. My computer just told me. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Mukhtar. We had to change the game up because technology was failing us. Things weren't working, so we decided that we were just going to be in the same space. There are about 30 people downstairs in Bamboo, Detroit working right now, doing the co-working deal. So it was so loud down there, we decided that we would come upstairs to Reginald Lane's office, who's a really great guy. He's a sort of an extension of a Bamboo member. Again, everyone, thank you for coming. The idea here is that we are talking about Detroit is for doers. How is that people such as Nick and other people are actually changing the sort of conversation around Detroit and actually making a huge difference. So, welcome, Nick. How are you doing today? I mean, we're just
doing awesome.
Okay, cool. We were just chatting beforehand. So, Nick, tell us about what you're doing. Tell us how you're making a difference. Tell us how Healthy Detroit is changing the game in Detroit.
For sure. So while studying public health, basically in the Affordable Care Act, came across something called the National Prevention Strategy. And so that basically asked for people to work together to shift the culture in this country to focus more on prevention. So kind of seeing this and coming across it, being a homeowner and resident in the city here, really just saw an opportunity for Detroit to be the model for that thing. Because we're in kind of a rebuild mode, because we have so many just amazing things going on, we needed to make sure that as we rebuild with public health in mind. So we kind of just approached the U.S. Surgeon General's office and pitched our vision to them and became the first initiative in the country of the National Prevention Strategy. And so basically what we're trying to do is build a culture of health in the city of Detroit through our public spaces and parks, in the city's parks. That's kind of our first initiative. But overall, Healthy Detroit basically just wants to be an advocate for public health in the city. Issue by issue, and really look to bring a lot of federal funding and just different national funds to the city, to the region, to really support all the existing health and wellness organizations that have been doing a great job for really decades in the city.
That's interesting. So how did you get involved with this, Nick? Tell us about yourself. You're how old are you? I mean, it doesn't really matter.
25.
Yeah, you're 25 now, but when I met you, you were 24.
Yep.
And I thought that I was sort of an action-taking type individual, but then I saw you and I was just like, holy crap! This guy is crushing it. He's and we kind of developed our friendship and things like that. But what kind of led you to this point to think you can even start something like this?
Well, honestly, when I graduated from high school, I wanted to get the hell out of Detroit, to be honest. And I think like a lot of people who go through something and you're in the same place for so long, you just want a new exposure, new experience. So I did leave, and I went to undergrad out of state. Then my mom got really sick, and I was kind of forced to transfer closer to home. So I ended up right back in Detroit, the place that I wanted to leave for so long. And instead of looking at it as kind of all these plans I had for med school, I really started to look at it as, hey, you can't really plan life. You have to take what's in front of you, make the most of it, and just do good. You have to just do great things. And so I started doing that. I started getting involved in the community, and I actually bought a home in Detroit at 19 years old. Right after my first year in college.
Super sweet. And it's in Midtown.
It's in Midtown, which wasn't exactly Midtown 6 years ago, so it was a little bit different. I just kind of took a chance, and I believed in this neighborhood. I was getting involved. I really saw Detroit kind of turning around a little bit. And so for me, that kind of opened my eyes to a healthcare system that I didn't really experience growing up. Mm-hmm. And so I saw the different side of healthcare system. And so while I was dreaming and envisioning about being this prestigious surgeon and working at some world-class hospital, I saw what real people actually experience in healthcare.
So living in Detroit, you're saying that you saw the inequalities as regards healthcare?
Absolutely. And more importantly, you see the other things that affect health. So we see every day, we have 390-something abandoned parks in the city. Or highly neglected parks in the city, whatever you want to call them. That has a big influence on people's health, and mental health. We're looking at what financial stability, foreclosure crisis, what these things have, the effect that they have on mental health. And the overall kind of thing is that ultimately everything affects health. Health affects everything, and we really have to take an interdisciplinary approach to really shift the culture in this country to focus more on prevention. As I kind of saw that, I basically just said, hey, we can do something here. There's a big gap in the city. No one's really trying to get a lot of these federal funds and taking on public health initiatives in the city. It was right at the time where the city was basically getting rid of the health department and moving to privatizing it.
Yeah.
So it was really just a great opportunity for us to say, hey, there's just so much going on in the city. We can really fill a gap and try to bring some public health dollars here.
But I mean, at the time though, Nick, you were a 19-year-old kid. You just graduated high school, right? At the time.
Right.
I mean, what goes through a 19-year-old kid's mind that says, well, no one else is doing it, I'm gonna do it?
Well, I didn't actually start it till I was like 20, or have the idea to start the nonprofit till I was like 22 probably.
Okay.
So it was during those years where I was just getting really involved. I was, mentoring kids in schools, going to schools. I did an internship led to Detroit Future City. Really a world that I didn't have previous exposure to.
Yeah.
And through that, I mean, it just inspires you. You really, you hear all the time on the news, Detroit's this, Detroit's that. You see statistics for different things. But once you start actually putting faces and names and moms and kids behind these statistics, it really kind of changes how you look at things. And really to say, hey, I mean, the healthcare system in this country is really screwed up, and we want to basically change that and be a model in Detroit.
Yeah. I mean, your answer is it's very straightforward in the sense that you just saw that there was a problem, you decided to go after it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, let me go back to something you said about the whole thing about health and wellness. Like, I completely agree with you. Like, if we're talking about issues in Detroit, people's like mental state and is affected by so many factors. I think Amanda and I, we put a post out on our blog the other day about 5 things that Detroit can do right now to get off life support.
Right.
And like the interesting thing about that is that we were talking about walkability and healthy food. I think we said something about that. And fixing these issues that affect like the community's overall like well-being. And, I completely agree with you. Like what my dad does. My dad's probably renovated several thousand homes like inside in the Metro Detroit area over the past 20 years. And a lot of the projects we've been doing are community development block grants. So it's like we're working for like seniors and people that have lead abatement kids,
right.
To do lead abatement inside people's homes. And it's just find this interesting. It's like that right there, like fixing someone's house affects their like well-being and affects the community at large overall. Like you can't perform well if you go home and number one, real hazards like lead and asbestos and things like that are in your home. But overall, having the ability to go home and actually have nice appliances and actually enjoy
right.
Sort of the community.
Yeah, I mean, I think being born into the city of Detroit, you were already at just a huge disadvantage in terms of trying to be healthy. And I can go as far to say where it is impossible to be born into Detroit and be healthy. Because of some of the circumstances that we have, and the lack of a public sector for generations is definitely plays a role in that. But ultimately, yes, I mean when you have neighborhoods where it's not walkable, and speaking on that point, actually, when we actually started this in health, I mean that's what it is. How do we actually do that? Our initial thing was schools, and we wanted to get into the Detroit schools, and so we started looking at different programs from around the country in Chicago, Washington, Seattle, programs that were really making a difference in the schools. And it was like, what can we bring from those programs to Detroit? Spent months doing this, and basically realized that we can't take a damn thing from any of those programs. Because we can't go into a school in Detroit and tell kids, hey, eat healthy, when they don't have a place to get this food. Or to teach kids, hey, get more physical activity, when the majority of parks in the city are not functioning. Or the sidewalks are not walkable, or we don't have public lighting. And so, a lot of these issues affect public health, but not necessarily directly, but it's just, that's the overlying vision of the National Prevention Strategy, is to show that it's not just the healthcare people that really need to be focused on
this community effort.
Absolutely. It's the schools. We have to get, the liquor stores and gas stations involved. We have to get the industries involved. We have to get factories involved. I mean, it really is kind of, it has to be an interdisciplinary approach to this.
So interesting. So interesting. We definitely need to get the liquor stores involved.
For sure. I mean, that is like a huge issue when you have, the bridge cards illegally and get spent on alcohol and tobacco, because a lot of these party store and gas station owners are allowing people to use their bridge card for things that they're not allowed to use.
Wow, that's interesting. I did not know that.
And so there's an entire, a multi-million-dollar industry on illegally using your bridge card, and that is putting you're basically giving people alcohol and tobacco,
and we're paying for it.
Right. I mean, it's just a really it's a system. It's systematic issues that you need to kind of solve at the highest level ultimately, and it's a lot of policy changes and a lot of things of that nature that need to happen as well.
That's so interesting. I never really thought of that. So interesting. So let's get back to you because like that's kind of like the point of Detroit for Doers. Like I love what Healthy Detroit's doing. I'm glad that we could get a little bit of background, but let's go back to Nick Mukhtar. So 19, you have this idea. You move to the city of Detroit. You buy a condo in Midtown. Then what's happening? What's happening next in your life? Like how do you like transition? I mean, I know you told me. You said,
Right.
well, I just said I can do it. I mean, but like what? How did that happen? Like what was the bridge there?
I mean, honestly, it was just, for me growing up, like I said, I always wanted to be a surgeon. And so even like undergrad, I was on pace to finish in 3 years, took my MCATs, did really well, got into a number of great med schools. Everything was kind of exactly how I envisioned and planned it. But the exposure to just being involved in Detroit and seeing this was like, okay, the Affordable Care Act was just coming out, and I was looking at this data and these stats saying, hey, we spend $2.5 trillion in healthcare, 75% is on stuff we can prevent. Or that 8 out of 10 people in the city of Detroit die from something we can prevent. Looking at these statistics and these numbers and just saying, I mean, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to see that there's something seriously wrong with this. It's common sense. And I think that's where the inspiration came, is that, my focus kind of changed in that I just didn't want to go through being a surgeon and just really being a part of the problem in a lot of ways. It was more rewarding to kind of try to solve the problems. And so, being in Detroit and seeing all the opportunities, and I'll just say, the challenges we have in Detroit aren't unique to Detroit. I think they're happening in every city. But the opportunities are unique. And so that is why, despite my opportunities to leave Detroit and go to Hopkins and spend time in Baltimore and do all these things, there's not the same opportunities in those cities as there is in Detroit. And ultimately, Detroit is home. And this is where I want to be. And this is where, I want to make a difference to people that, are my friends and family. And
well, yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about a lot of things. I mean, the opportunity, like we have, people, we were talking about the Department of Alternatives, last week, and just like all the various city service alternatives and things that they're doing.
For sure.
And it's just interesting. It's like, where in the country are you going to have that opportunity? Like who thinks of starting a bus company or, determining how we can like identify like vacant land usage and things of that nature. Like those are real issues that are happening in the city where those opportunities don't exist in other places.
Definitely.
So it's so interesting. Like I feel like, people that come to Detroit have to have that sort of like mission involved, because in some respects it's not like you're saying, it's not even healthy thinking to think that you want to like come here and set up some like normal lifestyle. It's like, like you can go somewhere regular, go somewhere like where the city's put together. Go to Chicago, go to New York. You come here because you want to be an individual that's like doing.
Absolutely, and I think that we all kind of inconveniences of being a Detroit resident and an everyday kind of just setting and the things that we have to experience and deal with. I mean, my street just got streetlights for the first time in 20 years. So.
Well, I mean, right here at Bamboo, I mean, outside, there aren't any streetlights here.
Right.
It's like.
So we deal, I mean, and when I talk to people in Washington and Baltimore, and I'm trying to explain to them, hey, we went to the city and we're working with them to take over some of the abandoned parks and stuff, they literally can't comprehend what that is. Well, what's an abandoned park? What does it look like? They ask questions that are so normal to us that we don't even think about. It's like, it's just kind of normal to us at this point.
Exactly.
And to them, it's just like, well, what do you mean you don't have streetlights? And, one of the things we're doing is installing an outdoor fitness center in Southwest Detroit. And we had the company come from California, and they're looking at it, and it's like, oh, great, you have lights here. And I have to look to the guy and tell him, look, those lights haven't worked in 40-plus years.
Yeah, exactly.
And so a lot of these things that we see are just, I mean, they're challenges, but they're interesting, and they kind of, like I said, offer kind of an opportunity to do great things here and make a big, big difference in a city that needs it.
Yeah. I was having a discussion with a friend yesterday, and I was just telling, well, he actually said it to me. I'm stealing the quote. I won't even quote who he is because I'm not sure if he wants me to, but, I came to the conclusion that I hate Detroit about 40% of the time.
Fair enough.
Okay? The other 60% of the time, I love this place. But it's this like level of frustration that in some respects, if you're just like the type of person that's just going to allow that to happen to you, you just eject from the whole circumstance. You say, well, I can't start a business in Detroit. I mean, well, goodness gracious, can't get internet, there aren't street lights. I'm just going to eject. Cope is meant to just be completely like, oblivious to it and just go somewhere else. Then there's another set of individuals that says, you know what, let's just fix this. Like this is just another sort of layer where we can like add to our community and add to like the things that we're doing. So I don't know. Yeah,
Detroit is like it's like a kid almost, you know. I mean, it's like you have unconditional love. You get so
Yeah.
upset at it at times, and it
That's
does
right.
stuff to just piss you off, and you're trying to like.
I say it's like an abusive relationship sometimes.
that
I mean,
works,
it's like, yeah, you know.
I think it is. I mean, it really is just kind of a unconditional love, and I mean, that's really kind of led to my inspiration. A lot of it is just kind of seeing a lot of, quite frankly, the BS that's held the city back for decades and decades.
Yeah.
And just seeing that we can do better. You know, when I started studying public health, and one of the things I did was just look at other cities and what they were doing, obviously. And I was seeing cities of comparable size to Detroit, like a Baltimore or Seattle or San Francisco. And it was like, hey, why is the federal government giving them $200 million for public health, and the city of Detroit's getting zero?
Wow.
You know, what is the reasoning for that? Because we probably need the money a little bit more than San Francisco does.
Yeah.
And so when I started like really digging and stuff and looking at what grants were being applied for and things like that, I really started seeing that in other cities, what you have is you have a health department or someone that's orchestrating collaborations and coalitions.
Right.
And so they're submitting one grant to the federal government with 20 different sub-grantees, kind of showing the city all working together.
Right.
All these organizations that really have the same goal but fill different gaps, all working together. And so they submit applications you can't turn down.
Right.
What we have in Detroit is because we don't really have a health department.
Right. You have people submitting all these different.
You get Detroit and we get no money.
Right.
I mean, it literally just the federal joke. I mean,
you can't give them too many
at
options. You can't give the government too many options.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a big part of what Healthy Detroit's doing is trying to get people in the city and the organizations and all of this to kind of work together and say, hey, we need to do a better job of bringing, money to this region. Yeah. We need all the hospitals involved, the universities involved, all these organizations, whether it's an organization that just started last year, or an organization that's been serving its community for decades, which we have plenty of in Detroit. Right. We all have to work together to make sure that we don't just continue to leave money on the table. I think the city of Detroit last year left over $100 million in federal block grants on the table.
Really? Wow.
I mean, I think I can think of a few things that we can do.
I mean,
with
yeah.
that money.
Oh, yeah, they did. I mean, because, that's my industry.
Right.
That's our background. And, I was talking to some of the hierarchs up in the city, the sort of, business taking over and stuff. And they were just like, look, that is so ridiculous. Like, how could you leave? It was $150 million on the table. Do you understand, like, all the blight and opportunities there are in the city? And you try and tell me we can't use $150 million that the federal government's, dishing out? I mean, I'm not, like, necessarily for, like, overall, like, federal and stuff like that. But, I mean, if they're going to give it out, you might as well, might as well take it, so.
And yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I've seen is just, we've really built a strong coalition. We have over 40 organizations working on our pilot project in Southwest.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm listening to you. I think we're getting some questions from, like, the audience. I want to, open it up.
It just kind of speaks to the fact that people want to work together and they kind of see this and they're not dumb. They understand what's happening and we're kind of seeing that. And so I think that, more and more we'll build this coalition and collaboration and you'll start seeing millions and millions of dollars for public health initiatives coming to this region.
It's interesting. Let's see what's going on out there. I got some questions here from various people. I guess I'll just start anywhere. Amanda asked, which is one of our partners in Bamboo, what is your vision for the healthiest Detroit you can imagine?
Man, it's a good question. My overall vision is really to create health parks throughout the city, and that's what our pilot project is, and that's one component, and maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But overall, it's really trying to get everyone to work together, and I see other cities, like you have places in Columbia, for example, where they have the most extensive bicycle networking system in the world.
Yeah.
They've basically taken streets and turned them into bike-only things. And what this has done within like a 5-year period, I mean, obesity dropped 300%, and you saw the unemployment dropped, and crime rates dropped. I mean, it really just had a huge impact within a short amount of time. And so I'm a big believer in the fact that we really need to develop the infrastructure to support healthy living.
Absolutely.
And so I think that looks like beautiful parks, places for people to kind of go and get this physical activity, easier access to immunizations and screenings. In the city of Detroit, 47% of the kids aren't properly vaccinated.
Yeah.
That's a problem, and that should never happen because immunizations are free. So, we see a lot of issues like for kids. So we see a lot of issues like that that I think are solvable, and that's really the exciting part about it.
It's interesting. That's very interesting. Let's talk let's look at each other through the camera because I think it seems like that might provide a better experience. Actually, it might be kind of weird for us.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm looking at us like, oh, we're like doing this or whatever. But this is everybody knows this is like, we are, at Bamboo Detroit, and Nick is a huge testament to this. One of my mentors says, fail forward fast. Okay. What you need to do is take massive action on things. Stop analyzing the hell out of everything and think that you got to like figure everything out before you actually take action. And that's what we're doing here on the podcast. So if you guys feel like this isn't like the best, interview by me, I'm not a professional interviewer. Nick's a professional, but we're just failing forward fast, and we're gonna try and provide the best level of content to encourage people to actually take action here in the city. Here's a question from this guy. His name's Josh. He says, what kind of response have you seen so far from the business community? Have they been open to providing healthier options and getting involved? I guess he's talking about with food or something like that.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge. And I mean, here's how we approach it: is that when you try to bring people into a partnership, you have to show them. So we've really tried for ways that we can benefit grocers in Southwest Detroit, for example, or some of these gas stations and stuff. But honestly, a lot of that has to come at the policy level. And so, I mean, those are things that we're certainly working on as well. But ultimately, I mean, the business community has been extremely supportive of this. And, I think it speaks to the testament that people understand that the health of the community impacts absolutely everyone and everything.
Yeah.
And that, and even in a business setting, I mean, if your employees are healthier, I mean, what it does to productivity. I mean, we have the data and we have the research to show the economic benefits of basically being healthy and just showing how, all these illnesses that we can prevent and these preventable diseases and chronic diseases, they're really draining the economy. They're draining the economy, and it hurts everyone, not just the people that aren't taking care of themselves, if that's the right way to put it. But it hurts the people that are taking care of themselves and not smoking and not drinking, because at the end of the day, especially with the Affordable Care Act, we're all in this together now, and so we really have to just boost up the community health throughout the country. And so has been awesome. I mean, I really have no complaints. I mean, we've had some issues with certain things and trying to find ways, but ultimately, I mean, like any partnership, you have to give them ways where they can win and benefit. And so for us, it's like, how can we get businesses to make money off this? And so, maybe there's a twofold approach to this, and maybe the first thing we need to do is introduce this lifestyle, and maybe businesses will be more willing to kind of implement it into what they're doing. But the national prevention strategy is actually just a great template for really getting everyone involved. And they've basically developed 7 kind of pillars, and under each pillar, it basically tells you what everyone's role is in this. So, for the healthy eating pillar, for example, you'll have the federal government should do this, the state government should do this, the city government should do this, nonprofits should do this, churches should do this, small businesses, and literally just goes through and offers recommendations for what you should be doing. And so that's basically been our way of going to small businesses and saying, okay, here's what your role is in this. If the state government plays their part and the federal government plays their part, and we play our part and we get the churches to play their part, if and when that happens, I mean, that is the only way to make this transition is through that interdisciplinary approach.
That's very interesting, yeah. I mean, with businesses, I know, you have to make it a win-win circumstance. That's the best form of actually doing business. It's like, when it wins for me and it wins for that business, and I think it is in their interest to promote health over a long-term standpoint. I don't know anything about that, but I do know that if I were a business owner, that's how I would be thinking. All right, we got another question here. What do you say is your greatest need right now?
Well, we're a nonprofit, so my answer to that will always be money. So if you'd like to make a donation, just visit healthydetroit.org and you can do that, or pick up a cool fitness tee and help us support our movement.
Yeah.
In reality, what we really need is just people. I mean, we need people to really just pick up on this, and it's really a social movement. I mean, that's really what it is, and we're trying to solve a major social issue in this country. So the number one thing I can ask people to do is come to our health park, get involved. We always need volunteers. We always need participants. I mean, come to the health park in Clark Park, do a yoga program, pick up some food in the farmer's market, talk to a doctor, get a screening that maybe you otherwise would never get, join an athletic league through Come Play Detroit, or bring your kids to do something through Detroit Pal. We have over 40 different organizations offering things in the park as part of this health park concept that we're launching. And so really there's something for everyone. So, I mean, that's the number one thing I can ask people is just come and be a part of this movement. And really just, that's what I'd ask.
Yeah. It's good. Just get involved. Do something.
Do something.
Do something. Action is like, I'm telling you, man, when you start taking action on things, it's amazing how the world lines up for you.
For sure. And I actually, going back to that, I actually started this by just sending an email to the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Benjamin. Yeah. And that's like the big thing that I keep promoting or just telling people over and over again, and just be fearless. Like, you really have absolutely nothing to lose.
Exactly.
I mean, the absolute worst that could have happened is she didn't respond, and I would have found something else to do. But she did, and the Dan Gilberts of the world have responded to me. And so, you really have to kind of take chances and just be fearless, because at the end of the day, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, what I find amazing, particularly, is like, I like, people, they think that, oh, well, because he must get from people asking him for things. And it's not necessarily that you're asking them. I mean, when you're talking about leading leaders, you have to lead them through personal relationships.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, like, I email, my thing now is I'm, like, trying to email, like, one, like, huge influencer every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I email Elon Musk and all these guys. It's amazing, like, the people that actually will respond to you. And if it's just a one-liner, I ask them something simple, like, what's your advice on this? How can you help me out with that? And it's amazing, like, when you actually do things and take action in that sort of
and it's,
realm,
I mean, it's like literally, and it's full circle. And now it's like I have people reaching out to me who are where I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And they, are intimidated by maybe reaching out to us and trying to get involved. And it's like, now that I have this in my head that all these people, I'd be nowhere without people's support and help and all of these things. I love that. I mean, I love, when an undergrad emails me and says, hey, I want exposure to the community in Detroit. Can I get involved? It's like, I'll meet them for coffee. We'll talk for hours. Like, I mean, and so I think that's kind of the mentality that the people that I reached out to had as well, is that they didn't get there by themselves. They had a lot of mentors and people kind of supporting them and guiding them along the way. And so I think that when you get to that position, you feel a sort of sense of responsibility to do the same. But I don't even know if it's that, because I think we really enjoy that. I mean, I think it's something that,
yeah, exactly.
We enjoy helping people and getting them to kind of see what we see every day.
If you can get collaboration around, like, your mission, as many people that want to join, as possible, the better. Like,
right.
My default answer is yes. Yes, yes, yes. How can we make this happen? How can we get this done? Because a lot of people, if you approach it from the no mentality, like, oh, well, why would we want to get involved in that or X, Y, Z? You'll just limit your creativity and limit the number of possibilities that you can have to actually do something.
Right.
So it's like, in fact, speaking of that, I've got a friend of mine who actually lives in Canada. She reached out to me yesterday out of the blue, and she said that, hey, I got this guy who's really involved in healthcare, and I don't think she even knew that you were going to be coming on today. I just said, hey, tell him to watch this. Maybe we can do coffee or something like that in the next, I don't know how Nick's schedule is probably like in the next few months, but, maybe we can do coffee in the next few months and actually make this happen. So, yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Thank you for asking what is the biggest need right now, because it allowed us to go on this massive tangent about taking action and doing things. So we're pushing up against like the half-an-hour mark here. I don't want to like take up too much time. I know it's the middle of the day here in Detroit. It's 12 o'clock. Obviously, you can watch this online, after the fact, but I like to, really kind of be respectful of everyone's time. So, like, is there anything else you want to like say in like closing, Nick, about the things you guys are doing, or how people can get involved? How can people reach out to you? Like, what's your contact information and things like that?
You can visit healthydetroit.org. We have a ton of resources there where you can sign up to volunteer. You can look at things we have going on. We've also kind of developed a basically citywide calendar where we're asking any existing health organizations or fitness, wellness programs can basically post their events in there to really give residents kind of this hub to find all the healthy stuff happening in the city. And it's actually pretty amazing when you look at the calendar now. You have multiple events kind of happening every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows you that there are so many great organizations and people trying to build a healthy Detroit. We just kind of have to do a better job of working together. But yeah, just visit healthydetroit.org. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. If you have ideas for us, this entire organization is built on vision and ideas. And so we love ideas. We love when people say, hey, why don't you do this or try this? Because when I started this, it was like, hey, we have a lot of abandoned parks. Let's see if we can get Dan Gilbert to give us some money and fix some basketball courts.
Yeah.
But as I started meeting with people and getting input from people and having all these creative ideas, we kind of put it together in this master plan of developing these things called health parks. And so that is our vision, and that's what we're trying to do. And ultimately, The philosophy of that is that we're trying to expand the American healthcare system because it really only includes the places you go once you're sick, like hospitals, doctors' offices, clinics, and no one wants to be in those places.
Yeah.
And so we want to expand the healthcare system to include the places that people will use on a regular basis, but that are necessary to make sure that you don't need hospitals and doctors' offices and things like that. And so for us, those include parks and schools and community centers, places where absolutely anyone in the community can go, and that have really served as epicenters of communities and societies since the beginning of civilization. So
that's interesting.
That's the overall picture and what we're trying to do. But ultimately, we're advocates for public health, and if there's a public health issue in the city of Detroit, please, involve us and look for ways that we can use our members of our coalition, as well as any of our federal resources and state resources to solve it, because that's what it's all about, solving problems.
It's interesting. And Scott Clausen actually asked, also on the thing that I missed, what role does technology play in that, Nick? Like, how is it that, you guys can leverage technology to actually, get things done in the city?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I think I just gave one, is that we have to create these resources for accessibility. We got to let people know that stuff's happening. And so we've done that through the web. We want to launch a mobile app that will basically do the same thing, let people know where all these healthy activities are going on, and also provide incentives for residents to doing that. So in the health park this year, we're launching what's supposed to be an app, but now it's going to be a loyalty card, where if you do a set amount of programs and things like that, you get Tigers tickets, and then the grand prize is actually a trip to the White House to meet Michelle Obama.
Wow.
So we're really trying to provide people with opportunities to do that. The challenge that we have is that the education level in some of these neighborhoods isn't too high, and a lot of people don't have access to phones, especially smartphones. And so we kind of have to take a grassroots approach and build to that level. And certainly, that's going to be on health. And if we can make it easier for people in the city to kind of understand their own health, and then make recommendations on how they can continue to be healthy, I think that the only way to do that is through technology, whether it's EMRs or basically changing that system a little bit. But that's the way to go.
That is so interesting. Wow. I'm always impressed, having you on, Nick. Just as your friend, I just want to let you know, publicly, I admire you, the work you're doing. I admire you as an individual, just as a massive action taker in the city. And this has been a great conversation between us. I hope that everyone else enjoys it just as much as I did. Yeah, man, thanks for coming on. And for everyone out there, take action this week. Do something, that will change the conversation around you.
For sure.
If you see something that, you think that that needs changing, just do it. Start working on it. You may not have all the answers or may not have the money. I was having a conversation with someone the other day. They asked me, if you had $5,000 or if I had $5,000, what would I do with it? I was like, are you trying to make some money off of it? Because you don't need money. You can do this. It's what you need. I don't know, if you don't believe in God, who cares? God gave you everything that, not who cares. I'm just saying, you have everything you need to actually make a difference and change something in your world. Asia Newsom, which is one of our Bamboo members, she is an amazing example of that. I was at her graduation last night, her graduation party. And if anyone knows anything about her background, the circumstances are not ideal at all, okay? And I'm not knocking her parents or anything like that, because they're great people. But at the same time, statistics would say that she's the type of person that shouldn't make it in the world. And here she is. She's been on the Ellen DeGeneres show. She's been on MSNBC. She's on the Gorilla 100. It's listed as one of the top 100 most influential African American people in the world, on lists with Obama and Oprah and all those people. And she's 10 years old, guys. And so I just saying that as a point of inspiration, and I think Nick's a great example of that. So, guys, until next week, grow fast and grow strong. It's been great having you.